Hello and welcome to Take on Tech. Today we are here at the Kenya Internet Governance Forum that has been organized ahead of the Global Internet Governance Forum that will be hosted later on in the year by the government of Ethiopia in Addis Ababa. Well, Grace Githaiga will be joined later on by the head of privacy policy matter to talk about some policies that you definitely want to hear about. This and much more right here. The hashtag to use is Tech on Tech. My name is Stephanie Ayieta. The internet is a safe space for democratic participation, but do you think women are accorded the same rights as men when using the online platforms? Talk to us. The hashtag to use is Take on Tech at KBC Channel 1. The Kenya Internet Governance Forum, a multi-stakeholder event attended by key industry leaders such as Kenya's Data Commissioner Immaculate Kasait, Tesbox CEO Fiona Asonga, among many others, brought together stakeholders from the various sectors in the industry to have a dialogue on this year's theme, which connects to the global theme, Resilient Internet for a Shared, Sustainable and Common Future. The convener of the event, Kenya ICT Action Network, broke the theme down into subtopics that affect Kenyans and distributed them to be discussed during the IGF week, which ran from June 27th till the 30th. On the first day, the matter on the table was privacy and data protection for women. Liz Orembo, a KictaNet trustee, says that people are more forgiving to men online than women, suggesting attacks to women online are more severe than to men. She also had this to add.
Now, this event where we are in, the one for women and data protection, is part of the Kenya IGF Week events. So the Kenya IGF is going to take place on Thursday. And now on Monday, we have the women's event, and we are having a special focus on women and data with regards to the election, because right now we have, it's an important time for civic participation and especially to voting who is going to represent us in various governance structures that we have in the country. And so women participation, especially online, is very critical because it's actually one factor that actually influences how women are going to participate in governance and how policies are going to reflect women's issues that they are actually facing in reality. So this event is actually to talk about safe online spaces and in particular to women's data, because we've realized a pattern where women are mostly attacked online because of privacy breaches, because they've lost privacy, online privacy, and also they've lost how they can manage their own data. So this is a GIZ-supported project on women strengthening on their safety online.
Benino Aquino, an advocate of Article 19, holds a contrary opinion to many regarding how matters on the problem of data privacy should be approached.
Being online is something that is inescapable because there are extra benefits that we get online. But we'll have to learn one important thing, that there has to be a discussion on what we can produce for public consumption. That is number one. Number two, access to information has never been understood to mean having knowledge, because for information to be relevant, it must be placed in its context. And that is exactly what is lacking. So if all stakeholders, especially national institutions which have the policy-making mandate, if all of us can come together so that we can have that advocacy, so that people can know that access to information doesn't mean knowledge. And there are some specific areas of our privacy that need to be protected so that we don't expose them outside.
June 30th was the culmination of the week-long event that included discussions on meta-community standards and policy, report launch on data governance and disinformation pathways, and the Kenya Youth Internet Governance Forum, ICT, and the upcoming elections, was among the key focus areas of discussion during the event. Fiona Asonga, TESPOC CEO, is hopeful that TESPOC will have a conversation with IEBC after they have their audit. When responding to a question on whether Kenya could face an internet shutdown, she urged citizens to be responsible online during the electioneering period. The youth during their forum flagged some of the challenges they are facing online, such as cybersecurity issues. They are asking for more youth inclusion on the internet. The event ended with Raimo Rayman, a representative of Estonia government, sharing the results and recommendation of the Kenya Digital Readiness Study, followed by a fireside chat on digital readiness of e-government. They made the recommendation that Kenya should have an e-government consolidation with a design system that has the user in mind. Professor Bitangen Demo said the user doesn't have to know the complexities of providing a solution, giving a relatable comparison that no one had to go to school to learn how to use M-Pesa. Instagram, owned by Meta, is now testing video selfies using facial recognition software as the new age verification method. This is for safety purposes for the minors. Let's have a look in our Tech of the Week. Instagram is exploring new ways for teenagers to verify their age and comply with platform rules. The Meta-owned app is testing video selfies with facial analysis software as a new verification method. Some users on Instagram try to evade its 13 and above age rule by editing their age of birth to make them appear over 18. But US teens attempting this will now be given 3 ways to verify their age. 1. Upload ID. 2. Ask 3 adult users to vouch for them. Or 3. Take a video selfie. Meta says it hopes the new methods will ensure teens have an age-appropriate experience on Instagram. Meta has partnered with UK digital identification provider Yoti, whose technology estimates age by analyzing human faces and facial features. Yoti says its algorithm, trained on anonymous people's facial images and their date of birth, cannot individually identify users or anything about them except their age. Its latest white paper, published in May, said the technology was accurate for 6 to 12-year-olds with an error range of 1.36 years and an error range of 1.52 years for the 13 to 19-year-olds. Meta says both companies will delete the image once a user's age has been confirmed. Meanwhile, social vouching allows users to ask 3 mutual followers to confirm their age. Those being asked to confirm how old a user is must be at least 18 and cannot be vouching for any other users at the time. Meta has previously faced criticism over teen and child safety on its platform. Several US states probed Instagram last year over children's experiences on the photo-sharing app in response to leaks from Facebook whistleblower. Will Gardner, Chief Executive of ChildNet and Director of the UK Safer Internet Centre, says the trial is encouraging. Five Rights Foundation, a UK organization campaigning for child safety in the digital environment, says such efforts are long overdue. Parents and guardians of teen Instagram users were given additional tools to supervise their children's experience on Instagram. They can now set up time limits and view details of any reports their child makes on the platform. Teens will also be nudged to look at other content if repeatedly viewing the same topics on Instagram's Explore page, and encouraged to take a break if continuously scrolling through Reels. We now join Grace Githaiga and her guest, the head of privacy Meta for the Africa region, Middle East and Turkey. They're going to talk about privacy, specifically on Meta. Let's listen in.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for that introduction. Welcome to the interview section of Tech on Tech, a weekly program that brings you technological concepts and debates and breaks issues down in an un-tech way. In today's interview section, we are talking about privacy. And to help us understand what privacy is all about, especially on how it's used on social media platforms, we have Dr. Shilon Olalade. Dr. Olalade is the privacy person at Meta in charge of Africa and Middle East. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll go straight into the first question. What is Meta's definition of privacy?
Well, thank you very much for that question, Grace. So we don't believe as a business we have a right to define what privacy is, because the reality is that privacy is an internationally recognized human right, and there's a lot of conventions like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the ICCPR, that have definitions of privacy already. So we are guided by those. And of course, there's a correlation between privacy and data protection. Data protection in itself is really about how do you prevent unauthorized access, to personal information? How do you give people, transparency and control and choice over their personal data? So we are guided by those definitions. We do not believe we should be the ones defining privacy. That said, I will say that for us at Meta, we believe that privacy is a fundamental human right, like I said before, and that the ethical use of data is important for the protection of other rights, including privacy.
All right. So in that case, what measures has Meta put in place to safeguard privacy of users, considering the platforms hold a lot of data?
Okay, there's so many things we have done that I really can't talk about, in full here, but I can give you how we approach privacy, just a bit of that. So we have what we call our privacy principles, and there are 7 of them. When you dig into them, you realize that they are mostly a combination of what you find in any data protection law to be the subject rights, data subject rights, combined with the principles of lawful processing of personal information. So for example, our first principle is that we give you as in users, control of your privacy. And that is recognizing that generally privacy means different things to different people. And so what we do is we just give you the controls that you need to make your own choice to suit whatever you want to see your privacy as on our platforms. Another key principle I want to mention is that we help people understand how their data is used. And this is really about transparency. So we have what we call a data policy. Now it's called the privacy policy. We just actually updated it. We rolled it out starting from the 26th of June, and it's going to be effective, I think, 26th of July. And that is really a transparency document. It tells you how do we collect data, how do we use data, how do we share that data. It goes into how do we share data across the different platforms that we have. It talks about how do we respond to law enforcement access requests to data, how everything you want to know about processing of data you can find in our privacy policy, otherwise known as a transparency document.
And where do you get this tool? Just like, because you are talking about Facebook, where do you get this tool? Just talk to the viewer and tell them once you get onto the homepage, take them through that.
So it depends on if you're accessing, Facebook or WhatsApp or Instagram from your phone or from, a desktop. It varies slightly. But if you go to the settings, click on settings, you will see privacy, click on privacy, and then you'll see privacy checkup, and under it you'll see privacy center as well. So of course some of the information overlaps between the privacy center and privacy checkup, but like I said, privacy checkup is really a quick way to just go and quickly check, for all your necessary information and make sure that it suits exactly how you want your privacy to be controlled on Facebook. I've talked about Facebook. On something like WhatsApp as well, there's a lot of privacy tools there. You can, determine who can see your profile picture. If you don't want people to see your profile picture, you can sort of, protect that. We also launched, I think last December, what we call disappearing messages. And this really is to give, of course, WhatsApp is end-to-end encrypted. But beyond being end-to-end encrypted, we realize that sometimes, the whole idea of end-to-end is that only the person who sends it and the person who receives it can actually see the content of the message. But what if you are maybe arrested and forced to actually, divulge your your PIN and they can access your information. So there are other things that, beyond end-to-end encryption that you also want to ensure that people have privacy over their WhatsApp account. So you can decide, it's up to you, if you want the message to disappear after 1 day, after a week, after 90 days, and you set it up that way. And then after that time, the message will disappear. But of course, this is not like 100% meaning that once you set that in place, then the message would definitely disappear. Because what if someone takes a screenshot of that message, right? Or forwards it to somebody else? Or if when they are responding to that message, they can quote initial message. So that then means that, there is, it hasn't disappeared. But in particular instances, we found that it's very, very important as a tool for privacy for activists, in different situations. So it's still a very important tool, I would say, in terms of WhatsApp.
Take on Tech takes a short break. Please continue following us on our social media handles, and that's at KBC Channel 1 across all social media platforms. Keep watching. You're watching Take on Tech, a weekly program that brings you tech issues and debates and breaks them down in an untech way. And in today's interview section, we are talking about privacy with Dr. Olalade from the Meta platforms. Now, this is an election year for Kenya, and you are here in Kenya because I know it's also an issue of interest. And what measures are you taking to curb hate speech, disinformation, fake news, and especially where privacy concerns or there are privacy breaches?
Thank you very much for that question. Of course, my role is privacy in particular. But I do agree with you that there are times when, things around hate speech will intersect with privacy. As you know, we have our community standards, which is essentially the do's and don'ts of being on Facebook. And one of the key things that we have there is, we are against cyberbullying and harassment, but also privacy violations. So you should not be sharing people's personal information online on our platform. And so when that kind of thing happens, we will definitely take it down. But for this, we really urge, users and people to report. So if someone does that and you see it, then report it. And that's very, very easy. You go, depending on if it's a post or if it's a page, there are always 3 dots at the top right-hand corner of a post or of a page. Click on it, and you'll see where it says report page or report post. If you click on that, it gives you a menu of options to be able to report. And beyond reports, and you don't just report and it ends there, you can also follow up on your report to say, I reported this issue, what action was taken, and it will be there. There's a support tool that you can go and check what action was taken. If you're not happy with that action, you can also appeal or ask for it to be reviewed, literally follow it to the very end and make sure that the appropriate action has been taken. So that's one way that we are making sure that we look into people using our platform during the election period especially to cause disruptions.
Very interesting there. So do you have any awareness programs? Because the information you're giving us is quite interesting, but do you have awareness programs on how people can use your platforms in a way that is safe and secure? And I will even say especially for women, because we've actually seen that a lot of women use your platforms, they love Facebook. But there's also a lot of online bullying. So are there ways or awareness programs in place that then can inform audiences, and in particular women, how to stay safe?
We have a lot of educational tools online as well. We have a lot of centers. We have what we call the Help Center. So this is like it has almost every information you can imagine around, any question you have on our platforms. And in particular for Facebook, it has a section that speaks to privacy and safety. So there you can go and check and find out a lot of information. We also have what we call the Safety Center. The Safety Center has a lot of information as well. It has, a youth portal, a parent portal, it has Get Digital, it has a women safety center as well. And there we actually have a lot of educational tools where we sort of help people to understand, the security measures they can take to keep themselves safe on a platform, and also to keep their information private. So here we dig into things like, like I mentioned before, like the privacy checkup issues. How do you snooze someone who is, being problematic? How do you, also make sure that, if someone tags you in a post, you can make sure that it doesn't appear on your timeline. You can actually make it possible that you actually have to approve it for it to happen. So there's a lot of information that you will find online, a lot of educational tools. I also want to mention that, like I mentioned, we have a privacy center as well. So we have the help center, the safety center, we have the privacy center as well. And this is also a consolidation of different privacy security measures that you can take. And we've launched this in addition to our privacy policy update. There you have a lot of information as well. And it gives you a lot of education about what you can do and who you can go to and how you can use our platform in a very privacy respecting manner.
Quite interesting. In the program, you've been telling people go to settings, then check on privacy. And I will tell you that ordinary citizens have capacity challenges to online security. So is it possible to have privacy settings by default on your platforms and make the engagement more privacy respecting so that users are able to opt in or opt out instead of letting them figure out?
So yes, absolutely. We do have a lot of privacy settings by default, and we're always trying to improve them. So what I can mention to you is we recently made a change in respect of the audience. We call it audience selector. So it's essentially who can, for example, view your posts on Facebook. So, it can be everyone, or it can be, your friends or friends of friends. So previously, what would happen was if you changed that setting, right, to say, for example, normally I say everyone, but in particular now I've changed and I said now I want my friends of friends or my friends to see this post, then moving forward, it will be your friends seeing the post. But to make it, what we feel like a stronger default privacy setting, what happens now is that if you do that, we will not go by the new setting, we'll go back to the initial one. So we are assuming that this was a once-off. So normally I want only my friends to see the post. Maybe I should do it the other way around. And now for one particular instance, because I want everybody to have a conversation, I make everyone see the post. After that, you will default back to only your friends. You will need to go in and say, now, my new choice moving forward is everyone, for us to be able to say, okay, that's the choice you've made. Because we realize a lot of people, once off, change their setting and do not remember to go back and change it. So we then say, if you just do it once off, we don't accept that that's your, by default, we take you back to the stronger privacy setting. So that is something that we do, just for an example. In terms of opt-in and opt-out, it really depends on the situation because it's not always ideal or relevant, right? So in this instance I gave you now, it's not about opting in or opting out, right? This is a better protection for you. So we default and say, when you change it once, we revert you back to the better privacy setting. But opt-in is when we want you to make a choice about something, right? Or opt-out. If we think maybe we've created a new tool or a new thing and we want you to make a conscious decision about whether you want it or you don't want it, then we'll use the opt-in. But for the default settings, I think sometimes are, used in a different kind of context. So, of course, we agree with default setting and also opt-in and opt-out, but it depends on the particular situation and if it's relevant and if it's in the best interest of our user in terms of their privacy.
Okay, as we finish the interview section, Dr. Olalade, what's your comment on privacy first?
For us as a company, privacy first as an approach is literally at the heart of what we do. And I told you that we have 7 principles. I only spoke to 2 or 3 of them. But one of them is that we build privacy into our products from the onset. And so internally, we have a lot of experts. We have, of course, the engineering team. We have a lot of lawyers. We have policy people. We have product teams. And so the privacy product managers really work very hard to pull in all the expertise from across the company to ensure that all that is taken into account as we're developing any product. So for us, privacy is not an afterthought. It's our priority. Because if you think about it, if you don't build it in at the onset, it will always be too late at the end of the day. And then means you need to go back and either rebuild from the scratch, which is a very costly, venture, or you find out that you've created a lot of problems that are very difficult to rectify. So for us, privacy first is always our approach.
Thank you very much for gracing the interview section of Take on Tech. I am sure the viewers have been enlightened on privacy concerns and that they will make it an effort to actually go to settings and select privacy and see what it is that they want their followers to actually see and follow. So thank you very much. That's it from the interview section. We were talking to Dr. Olalade from Meta, Africa and Middle East. And until next week, please continue following us on our social media handles at KBC Channel 1. My name is Grace Githaiga. Keep watching.
We have come to the end of today's program, but you can still participate in today's question. And we're saying that the internet is a space for democratic participation, but do you think that women have been accorded the same rights as men? Talk to us. The hashtag to use is TakeOnTech at KBC Channel 1. You can get me at Stephanie Ayieta across all social media handles. Let's meet next week. Until then, keep it tech. Adios.